Gate of Babylon. Gate of Babylon, the king's treasure, no Ziho, is the golden capital and the king's treasury of Gilgamesh, and moreover the golden key connected to it. His main noble phantasm, it is the storehouse that Gilgamesh built to store all the world's treasures he claimed in life, referred to as the divine gate. It connects the space of reality to the vault, opening an invisible door between dimensions that allows for the contents to pass through upon their owner's command. Allowing for easy access to the items of the treasury, he is able to pick and utilize them as he pleases. The rank of the noble phantasm changes from EA++ due to it reflecting the ranks of the contents of the treasury. It is a noble phantasm that becomes more powerful with the user's wealth, but would accordingly not be useful without a wealth of valuables. It is also once referred to as an EX-ranked noble phantasm by Tokiomi Tosaka due to containing EA. The items passing through the gate form gold-glowing energy ripples in the empty air as they appear instantly. He can summon items directly into his hand, pull out weapons from directly behind him, or prepare numerous weapons midair, loaded like bullets. This noble phantasm is named as such because Babylon has become synonymous with the capital of sin and the golden capital. There are probably imitations like the Road of Babylon, Rodo Obu Babiron, as well. Combat. Although he possessed the treasury in life, he never thought about utilizing the treasures as projectiles until his first battle with Enkidu. Forced to draw out the treasures he had carefully stored away was initially humiliating for him, but eventually came to enjoy it and brought them out without regret. He later commented that his treasury was in disarray since meeting Enkidu, calling it a harebrained habit that Enkidu instilled upon him. Its usage is why Gilgamesh is of the archer class, firing the noble phantasms like bullets to make him the archer with the strongest arrows. While most servants view their noble phantasms as treasured possessions, Gilgamesh freely launches them with the same carelessness as throwing a handful of stones. Producing an excellent ratio of destructive power to magical energy efficiency, the real cost is not within the noble phantasms acting as bullets but rather the mere activation cost of the Gate of Babylon. Compared to Heracles, the indomitable, ultimate expression of human perseverance, the treasury is the exact opposite as the infinite, ultimate expression of overwhelming force. He can ready numerous weapons, letting their hilts stick out when he is waiting and instantly showing the blades when about to fight. They move and take aim at the target according to Gilgamesh's will, allowing him to fire without having to even touch them. Gilgamesh can send out as little as 1 or 2 weapons or enough at a single time that it becomes comparable to a torrent of gushing water directed at the opponent. He will increase the amount depending on the situation, opening the gate wider, as in, generating more portals, to reflect his anger or when forced to become more serious. He will generally use weak treasures unless the situation should call for his highest class of treasures, such as in the case of Heracles' god hand. He can prepare and launch dozens, hundreds, even thousands if he is serious. Possessing an inexhaustible supply, he can fight multiple battles without a single repeat noble phantasm being witnessed. Upon firing them, he can allow them to pierce the ground after striking the target, causing a large amount of destruction with each weapon that is comparable to something being blown up by an explosive blast, or he can instantly return them to the vault before they hit the ground at such a speed that they appear to have been illusionary. He utilizes a noble phantasm to retrieve any weapons left on the battlefield, instantly dissipating and returning them to the vault. He can also leave them out if he wishes, such as when they have been stained by striking caster's summoned creature. Upon snapping his fingers or without even a gesture, the weapons can be continuously launched at the opponent without a break. Each weapon has the ability to cause certain death to an opponent, and they are shot with enough force to repel a swing from Berserker's large axe sword. While it is possible to block many of the strikes, to do so without knowing the abilities of the weapons can be seen as suicidal. He will generally fight at long range while shooting projectiles from behind him directly at the opponent, but he can also freely move with the portals also moving with him. He can freely deploy the portals mid-air while piloting Vimana as well. When fighting at extremely close range, he shows the ability to loose weapons from above, below, and to the side of the opponent. He can also summon weapons completely around the target for a full 360-degree barrage that should generally leave not even a single trace of flesh from the opponent. When closed upon by a target, or simply to play with the opponent, he can freely draw weapons into his hands for melee combat. The ability to handle them depends upon the user's capability. Gilgamesh makes use of the many unknown abilities of the weapons, and constantly switches them to keep his opponent off guard. Weaknesses. Knight of Honor is considered to be a natural counter to the Gate of Babylon, but Lancelot is only able to keep up with Gilgamesh to such a degree because of his mad enhancement. While capable of playing around with saber in close combat in the Fate route, he would be outclassed in a sword fight with Assassin, so he would not even attempt it. As he is a king who possesses over 1,000 weapons, rather than a warrior who chose the path of taking a single noble phantasm to its ultimate limit, Shiro Amiyat declares Gilgamesh to possess only one ability like himself. As an owner like Shiro, Gilgamesh is not a wielder able to use a weapon to its maximum potential in melee combat. Within Unlimited Blade Works, Shiro's swords are always ready and waiting, allowing him to be one step ahead of Gilgamesh, who needs 0.5 seconds to summon them from his treasury. While Gilgamesh can defeat one who has mastered their weapon with his infinite weapons, Shiro is unable to accomplish that same feat because he lacks the skill, so Gilgamesh is the only enemy he can defeat. Enkidu's usage of its second noble phantasm, Age of Babylon, allows him to match the output of the gate, by creating weapons, such as swords, spears and chains, from the ground, with each being the pinnacle of craftsmanship. Ki, Babilu. Ki of the King's Law, Babilu, Oritsu Ken, Babu-iru, is a golden key-shaped sword that connects to the treasury. Compared to the spare front key to the treasury, Babilu is that which can unlock the deepest parts of the treasury to access Ye. While similar in appearance to the spare key, Gilgamesh says, "Do not speak of this in the same terms as the key," and describes it as something like a contract I bound myself, given form. Possessing a divine aura, Tyne Chelk describes it as the purest magical element she had ever seen in her life. Only he is able to utilize Babilu, and lacking the wisdom to understand its constantly changing shape will render it unable to open the treasury. It is implied to be able to open other doors, but those without locks cannot be opened. Gilgamesh is shown to open the Gate of Babylon with Babilu in hand while saying the true name of the noble phantasm, and he utilizes it at times to retrieve Ea from the depths of the treasury. When utilizing it to obtain Ea, the key releases a large, labyrinth-like, red pattern, that can be seen covering the sky from a great distance away, and then it recedes into a small orb from which he pulls Ea. Key, Spare. The spare key to the treasury is an item Gilgamesh ordered to be produced while he was alive. It is the front key to the treasury that was meant to act as a device to open its physical gate. Deciding that none would dare to ever lay claim upon his treasures, he ultimately deemed it unnecessary to keep and threw it away. After staking everything on the hopes of obtaining it, the key was found by the ancestor of the unnamed Magus who would later go on to summon Gilgamesh. The key became the family's single pride, kept as an important treasure until modern day. Within the world of Fate/Strange Fake, it acts as a catalyst to summon servant archer Gilgamesh. When presented with it in the modern day, Gilgamesh simply throws it away again, considering it to be a trifle. An item of lavish workmanship, the key looks similar to Babilu, saturated in magical energy of an unknown origin. No more than just a work of art to open the gate, Gilgamesh states that it is incomparable to Babilu despite the similar appearance. While having no function in the hands of humans in relation to Gilgamesh's usage of the Gate of Babylon, Ishtar is able to make use of it to forcibly close the Gate of Babylon. Divine Gate. The Divine Gate, the Door of Babylon, is the physical gate housing the treasury. It is said the tombstone of the Assyrian queen Nitocris WP hides the entrance to the treasury. Within Babylonia, Gilgamesh possesses various underground treasuries the size of a city, many of which were traps developed for Ishtar. Taking her personality into account, he empties an entire treasury and fills it with precise traps, taking into account how Ishtar would break into it. Contents. Gilgamesh is renowned for having collected all the treasures in the world in his lifetime, amassing a perfect treasury that lacked nothing. As there was nothing he was unable to collect, Gilgamesh was a collector of treasures, whose favorite phrase, "I collected all the treasures of the earth," is not a metaphor. As anything can be found within the vault, the amount of wealth within exceeds even his own knowledge. It is said that its inventory of treasure continues to increase even now. He collected and stored away samples of all the technology that was developed during his age. The desires of ancient humans were similar to those of the current age, so their technology, bolstered by the powerful magic of his era, was not inferior to that of the modern age. The instruments of hope that people dreamed of were all realized, and because every single case was requisitioned by the king's hand, his collection is even furnished with airplanes and submarines. It also contains all of the original bases for all intellectual properties produced by mankind that originated in his kingdom, making board games and the works of the Library of Alexandria WP no more than imitations. It is still sought out by some magi, believed to hold all things in the world and enshrine every possible magical artifact. That within are not merely riches, but his collection is the very origin of human wisdom. It is the proof of human wisdom and human ingenuity. That which is missing from the vault would be items produced with completely new concepts by a new human race and items produced with extraterrestrial intelligence and technology. He is the original hero, so all heroes of various myths are derived from his legend. It may be a paradox, but he, as the original, must possess that which can be handed down as the noble phantasms possessed by those later heroes, for they are derived from him for that very reason. These weapons are technically nameless, the original prototypes of the noble phantasms, Sabit no Hoga no Genkei, and merely common items before they became objects of faith that act as the foundations for their legends. Each treasured weapon is decorated with dazzling ornaments and polished to a mirror-like shine, all clearly sporting the magical energy to define them as divine mysteries without exception. They are the original models of every legend, myth, and folklore. He says God Hand, a noble phantasm formed from Heracles' life and legends, is the one type of asset he lacks. He says he wishes to obtain Kavacha and Kundala, and he is surprised by Avalon's existence. It is also possible, such as with Vasvi Shakti, that he cannot tell if something corresponds to one of the treasures in his vault. Karna's legend records that he has the spear, but there is no description of it being used. It does not exist in his eyes due to never having been described, so he wishes to obtain it. The Gate of Babylon does not contain the Gate of Babylon itself as one of its noble phantasms, so there is no development of an infinite recursion cycle. The weaponry contained within includes swords, polearms, lances, hammers, shields, demonic swords that later made their way to Europe and South America, and a number of weapons unidentifiable to Shiro from sight, all of which form a perfect treasury of masses of unused weapons that simply went to sleep with the king. He owns the treasured swords that saved later heroes and the cursed swords that stole the lives of later heroes, and their numbers are approximately infinite. After Gilgamesh's death, the contents were spread all over the world after being passed on or stolen, and the treasures, valued because they were to become splendid swords and eventually noble phantasms. The craft essence door of Babylon suggests that it was Darius III's ancestor, Darius I, who initially found and opened the gateway into the vault, followed by the Assyrian queen Nitocris, and then later Darius III himself. Shiro states that the quality of the weapons makes the noble phantasms used by others look like fakes themselves. While Ku Chulain has the Gi-Balg that became famous, Gilgamesh possesses a weapon that later became the Gi-Balg, but was not famous at the time Gilgamesh owned it. The only item contained in the vault that was not passed on to another user than Gilgamesh is Ea, a sword unique to only Gilgamesh. Shiro claims that even though he cannot see them all, he can feel that their numbers are infinite. If weapons of a previous incarnation meet those that descended from them, such as Gram facing Caliban or copies facing originals, the deteriorated newer model will always lose. It contains numerous A-ranked weapons, capable of piercing God Hand dozens of times to take 11 of Berserker's lives and then piercing him with 23 more weapons afterward. Just a single weapon is enough to pierce Castor's strongest shield and keep any other servant on the defensive. The numerous weapons contain various different effects and abilities, allowing him to assault the weaknesses of any servant. This places him at an advantage over most servants in combat, such as attacking with a weapon strong against a certain attribute or assaulting a servant with a weapon they were specifically weak against during life. The gate can also carry living beings, as shown when Gilgamesh uses the gate to transport Shinji Matua to the Einsburn castle, as well as deployed in an area when he is genuinely serious, as shown during his fight against Avengers Shadows. It is time for disciplining. This is barbaric, even if it is one of my tactics. This is how treasures are meant to be used. Gate of Babylon. Archer. As a child, although the amount of contents emitted is lower than what the adult Gilgamesh in his normal state has, it seems that he is picking and shooting noble phantasms that are intended to observe and test the opponent's capabilities in order to identify and strike their weak points. As a caster, it is fundamentally the same noble phantasm he possesses as an archer. By connecting the space around him with Babylon's, Gilgamesh pulls out an innumerable amount of magic wands and mystic codes and utilize magic. In the magic wands and mystic codes, the great thaumaturgy of the Age of Gods are loaded. Due to the display of effects and invocations that mostly does not consume the user's magical energy, it is a noble phantasm that excels in its extraordinary cost performance.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.